Hello and welcome back to Simple or Difficult. In this video, I will be showing you how to get your dimensions in Revit from looking like this to looking like this. After that, very quickly, I will also show you other things you can do with dimension apart from dimensioning for working drawings or construction drawings, okay? Because dimensions also come in very handy when it comes to modeling in Revit. Alright, without any further ado, let's get into the business of the day, which is configuration of dimension. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce you to different parts of the align dimension. We are going to be using align dimension again today. This is part 2 of the first tutorial. Okay, if you have not seen the first part of this tutorial, please check the link in the description, or you can just click on the link that will appear above the screen, okay, to check that video out right away. So we are going to be using align dimensions, okay, and it is important for us to know the parts of this align dimension, because throughout the course of this video I'll be referring to this part, so I suggest you pay attention. All right, this is the align dimension. This is what it looks like. It has different parts as it is now, okay. The first part is the dimension text. Okay, this is what displays the value of the dimension. Okay, when you're dimensioning from point A to point B, the distance between those 2 points, I mean the point A to point B, is displayed in this text. Okay, you can adjust it, you can edit it. I'll be showing you how to do so in this video. Okay, so the next one, the tick line. The tick line indicates where the particular dimension starts and where it stops. Okay, it is also called the symbol of termination. Okay, and this symbol of terminations are displayed at each ends of the dimension lines. Okay, it basically indicates the beginning and the end of the dimension. Okay, you can specify different sizes and shapes for the tick marks. All right, so I'll be showing you how you can do all that in a bit. All right, the next one we are going to talk about is the witness line. Okay, the witness line, it kind of points at the feature that is being dimensioned. All right, and depending on your settings, it extends from the feature to the dimension, or from the dimension to the feature that is being dimensioned. Okay, I'll be talking more on that later. Okay, the feature in this case can be wall, windows, doors. Okay, you get the idea now. All right, the next thing we are going to talk about is the dimension line. The dimension line indicates the direction and the extent of a dimension. Okay, I said direction because for an angular dimension, the dimension line is an arc. All right, so the dimension line indicates the extent of a dimension. All right, so in conclusion, these are the parts of the dimension. Okay, you can control nearly every aspect of the appearance of these elements. All right, for example, you can set the thickness of the tick line as you have here. You can set the thickness of the tick line. You can set the precise gap you want between the witness line, or this is also known as the extension lines. Okay, you can even change the color of the entire thing, both the text, the witness line, the tick lines, everything. You can change the color of it. All right, so and if you save your dimension style in your Revit template file, they will be available each time you start a new project. Okay, that is it for the parts of dimension. All right, let's jump right back into Revit so we can start formatting our dimension lines. All right, so when you open your Revit, this is the default template. That's what I'm using. Okay, working on the dimension line, the aligned dimensions. Okay, when you open up Revit, you select this as a dimension. You can see it in the modify tab. You can also see it in the annotate tab. Okay, there's the align dimension. You can also see it in the quick access toolbar. Okay, you select it. All right, now that we have our align dimension selected, I remember in the last tutorial we talked about the placement settings. Okay, we are just going to go ahead and change it to wall faces. All right, now let's jump into editing and formatting our dimensions to look very nice. Right now you see that the tick lines are really long and the text are quite big. You can see everything is not looking attractive at all. Okay, when you if for any reason, let's say you want to place this drawing on a sheet, and for the sheet to be able to accommodate this drawing, you need to change the scale, and you change this scale to, let's say, 1:200. You can see the dimension lines are even, covering each other. Okay, you can pull it apart, with the help of leader. You can separate it, but then what you want to do is you want to make the dimensions fit into the scale that you have, change the drawing to. If you keep dragging this thing, you don't want to keep dragging these things around, because if you keep dragging, it's going to run you mad. Okay, so what you need to do first is you have to first adjust the dimension to the scale of the drawings. Okay, but then let's take this drawing back to 1:100, and then notice that this line here, I refer to it as the leader, dimension leader. When you drag a dimension, the text out, there are different settings. When you drag it out, it is going to bring out a leader to reference the place, okay, that this value, belongs to. All right. So now let's get into. Let me take this thing back real quick. So to edit dimension, with your dimension line selected, hit the edit type button on the properties palette. Okay, let me shift this thing to this side. Sorry, let me zoom out so that we'll be seeing our dimension on this side. Okay, so now what the first thing I want us to look at is the show leader when the text moves. Okay, right now is set to away from origin. Okay, if we set it, let me show you now. Now, once you move this dimension text away from this origin, as you can see, the leader appears. Okay, so when we go back and we set it to something like the other option there, beyond witness line, and hit apply, you see the leader goes away. Okay, so when it will come out now is when you drag it towards the end. Okay, when you are passing, this is the witness line, that is the witness line, that right here. So be watching this is when this goes beyond, you will see the leader appears. Okay, you can change this leader from curved line to straight lines. Okay, from arc to line. Okay, when I hit apply now, you see, but please leave it at arc. So the next thing on that same, that we can change to fit what we want. All right, let me hit apply. Mind you, we have set it to beyond witness line. Okay, so the next thing we are going to look at is the tick mark. Okay, and right now is at diagonal 3 millimeters. Okay, you can change it to 1.5. all right, you can see it's looking better now. This is the tick mark. Okay, it's looking better now, but I will show you how to create, because now the only thing you have available here for diagonal is 3 millimeters and 1.5 millimeters. I'll also show you, how to create more tick marks later on in this video. Okay, so stay put. So we have the line weight. This line weight is for the dimension lines. Okay, if I should change this line weight to 9 and hit apply, you see how thick the dimension line is. Okay, but just leave it at 1. Okay, then this is the, let me hit apply quickly. This is the tick mark line weight. This one right here, that's the next one. Always leave it at 5 or 4. Okay, depending on what you're doing. Okay, so the next one is dimension line extension. Mind you, this is the dimension line. If you want it to extend more than 2.4 millimeters, you can set it. You can make it 6. Okay, you see it has extended a bit, but then let's leave it at 2.4. Okay, then the witness line control. This is the witness line. Okay, now gap to element means it is showing you that this is the element that is being dimensioned. If we change this thing to fix the dimension line, as the name suggests, it is going to fix. Okay, you see what happened here? It's going to fix this dimension line. It's going to fix the witness line to the dimension line like so. So now when you drag this thing away, you see it is being, okay, the witness line goes with the dimension line. All right, so this fix the dimension. Mind, just I want you to notice what happened here. When it is gap to elements, witness line gap, If I hit apply, you see it is attaching. Witness line gap to element. You can now set the distance you want between this point and the element you are dimensioning. You can make it 4 millimeters. You hit apply, you see the gap is being shown. But now when I change it to fixed to element, fixed to dimension line, you see now that one is now grayed out. The witness line length is now active. If I hit apply, you will see. So if I should make this one 6 millimeters, okay, and I hit apply, you see it is now going from the dimension line towards the element that is being dimensioned, okay. But whereas if it is at witness line gap to element, it is going to go from the element that is being dimensioned towards the dimension lines, okay. All right, so the next thing we are going to talk about is the witness line extension, okay. This extends the witness line backwards like so, okay. These first two, depending on the options you select here, will extends the witness line forward, but then this one extends this backward. Let me show you. If I should add 6 here, okay, and then hit apply, you see the witness line has been extended backwards, okay. Let me leave it as 1.5, okay. I can make it 2.4. All right, so we're not going to touch the witness line tick mark. We are not going to touch the center line symbol. We are just going to leave all of those things as they are. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is color. This is where you change the color of your dimension to whatever you want, okay. The color has changed, but because it is still selected, you may not notice. You can see it's now orange, okay. If for any need you need to change, if for any reason you need to change your dimension color, this is where you do it. You can change it to blue, you can change it to red, you can change it to whatever, okay. I'm just going to go back in here and leave it as black. All right, now the next thing we need to talk about is the dimension line snap distance. This is very important, okay, because usually in dimension line we have levels of dimensions. All right, so let me show you what this snap distance is, okay. Let me take this thing back real quick, okay. Let's say we have the first, let me add, we have the first dimensions here, okay. So just be watching. You see it snaps into place when you get to, you see, let's say you add, you can see it is snapping into place. All right, this is not how you dimension. I'm just trying to show you. You see, you can see it is snapping into place. All right, so you can reduce the snapping distance of this dimension line based on the scale or on the size of your dimension, okay. If the text of this dimension is smaller, it might, these gaps might be looking too wide, so you can change the distance to which it snaps here, okay. Usually I leave mine at 6.35, okay. Now let me delete this and add new dimensions, okay. So now it snaps at this distance instead of that one that we had. You see, okay. So that is what that does for you. It increases or reduces the distance to which your dimension lines snap. Now let's talk about the dimension text. Like I told you, this is what displays the value of your dimension line, okay. The distance between point A and point B is displayed in the dimension text. So now you can change the font, you can make it underline. See, this width factor actually does something. It reduces the width of the text, okay. Now it's at 1, that is the normal size of the text. If I should change it to 0.5, just looking at this text, you see what happened to it. You see it has tried to shrink it, trying to skew it, and make it narrow to fit in whatever. If you ever have any reason to do something like this, this is how you do it. Now if you make it 2, it is going to stretch it. You see, stretch it, to make it big. I wonder why anybody would want to do that, but always leave it at 1. If you have any need to reduce, you can reduce it very, let's say 0.8. It's going to skew it a little bit, but then you understand. But then 1 is the default. So underline, like the name suggests, is to make the text, underline the text. Bold will make your text, italics will make your text italicized. The bold will make the text bold. Okay, let me uncheck that real quick. So this is the text size. This is what you are going to be working with. But then before you adjust this text size, always duplicate, and then let's say I want to adjust this one to 1.5. okay, rename it 1.5. I want to use an Century Gothic. You can use whatever font typeface you want. You can use whatever typeface you want. Okay, all right, you can do whatever you want. I'm just trying to show you something. Okay, so now the text size, we are going to change it to 1.5. okay, text offset is the offset of this text from this dimension line. Okay, I'll be showing you. Let me quickly say okay. You can see. All right, this is 1.75. Looking at the text, if I should make it 1, okay, and I hit apply, you see the text is moved closer to the dimension line. Okay, if I should make it 0.5 and hit apply, you see it is still coming closer still. So I suggest you leave it at 1.2 and then see how it looks. Okay, it has gone up in a reasonable distance. Now here, as for the read conventions, we are not going to touch that. We're going to leave it as it is. All right, now the text font, this is where you change the font of the dimension, that is the typeface of the dimension. So now we're having area. You can type in Century Gothic because that's what we have named our dimension as. So Century Gothic, I select it and I hit apply. You see the font have changed. It is looking tiny though, so you can click on bold to make it bold. All right, I don't have to. Okay, I don't mind. So this text background, it's what makes your dimension. It's now opaque. Opaque means you cannot see what is behind it. If you put it in transparent, you can see the text behind the dimension. Okay, now is in transparent, you can see this wall. But when I go back inside and make it opaque, you will see you are not going to see it again. The text will have a translucent background, an opaque background. Okay, it's not, it's opaque background. All right, so and that is what all we are going to be talking about in the text. Okay, you can also add units to your dimension lines. Okay, you can is using the project settings, and this template I'm using is set to millimeters. You can uncheck it and set your dimension to come out in feet. Okay, so now this is 1 feet. As you can see, let me bring this thing, let me take it out of the wall so that you see. Okay, that is 1 feet. All right, let me go back. You can set it to inches. All right, you can set it to inches. When you hit apply, you're going to see 9. These are 9-inch block. Okay, you can also set the decimal places. You can set it to nearest 10. It will summarize it for you. So now when I hit apply, it's going to be showing 10 instead of 9. You can set, let me take it back. You can set the symbols. You can set the normal IN, which symbolize inches, or you can set the symbol, the one that is showing like this. Okay, so you can always do that from inside here. All these other ones you can do without them. Okay, like I said before, they all have something that they are doing, but for the purpose of what we are doing, you don't need all those things right away. Okay, like I said before, I'm going to be showing you how to create a new tick mark to add inside here, so you can always select them. Okay, so now we have only diagonal 1.5 and diagonal 3 millimeters. All right, to add a new tick mark, now I want to add 1 millimeter. Okay, but I feel it's going to look nicer, look better to this scale of dimension. All right, now if we change this our dimension scale to 1:200, you can see that this tick line is still looking very big. All right, so we need to change it quickly. Let me change this thing back to millimeters. Okay, go back in here and just check the project settings. That takes it back to millimeter for me. Let me select these ones and delete them. We're no longer using them. Okay, so we have our dimension lines, and look at the tick marks, very massive in my own opinion though. So to create a new tick line, so we can change it inside the the properties palette, the edit type button in the properties palette, what we need to do is, first of all, we need to go to manage and then additional settings. Then under annotation, you will see arrowheads. Click on the arrowheads. We're going to see arrow styles. Okay, on the type parameter drop down, you will see that it is still set to arrow. Click on the drop down and select a diagonal. Okay, now that you have selected a diagonal arrowhead, hit duplicate and then rename it to 1 millimeter. Okay, now on the tick size, impute 1 millimeters there. So hit OK. We have actually created our new tick mark, but then it is not showing up here. We are going to make it show up by clicking on the edit type button on the properties palette, and then on the tick mark we are going to drop it down. Now you can see the diagonal 1 millimeter that we just created. You select it and you hit apply. You see the diagonal lines have now become shorter and better. All right, now that is how you create and format a dimension line. You can do more with this. Okay, I think the dimension text are looking good. Yeah, so now let's talk about some tips and tricks when it comes to placing dimensions in your Revit project model. Okay, you can, let's say you are dimensioning. Okay, you are placing dimension in your Revit project model, and mistakenly you are not done. You are not done adding the elements you want to add, and then you clicked out in the middle of nowhere and then you want to keep dimensioning. Don't create new dimension. When you see me click on this, and this is create similar. Okay, don't start by creating new dimension lines. No, you can continue adding by selecting it and this edit witness line. Okay, you can see the shortcut EW. When you click on it, okay, when you click on it, you can keep adding to your dimension line. You can see. Okay, and also dimension can also use to establish constraint between two elements. Let me show you what I mean by that. When you select this stuff and then you click on this, and this is 1/8. Okay, the distance between this point and this point, this wall and this wall, is 1,800 millimeters. That's 1.8 meters. So when you click on this key here, when you click it, it locks the dimensions. So if I should adjust anything here, let me show you what will happen. Click on this and let's make this thing 5 meters instead of 5,370. You see that this dimension, these two elements still maintain their distance of 1/8. Instead, it dragged this wall over here inwards, okay, to still maintain the constraint that I have set between these two things by locking this dimension line, okay, using this key here to lock the dimensions. Okay, so now if I should make it 6,000, you see it will still maintain the same. Okay, so now when you are modeling and you want some things to in your model to maintain the same distance, you can use this dimension to lock it, okay, to lock those things. All right, now there's something else known as the temporal dimensions. Like these blue lines here are temporal dimensions. You can also use them to model, okay, and you can change them to permanent dimensions by clicking. I think you're not seeing that one clearly. Okay, this one you can see clearly. So now this particular one here, you can see 2,750 here. If I want to make it 2.5, you can see this temporal dimension comes in very handy when you are modeling. Okay, to make this temporal dimension permanent dimension, you click on this symbol here. Okay, it becomes a permanent dimension. All right, so another thing I want to show you is the EQ button of the dimension line. Okay, let's say you want to, let me quickly create similar, put another one here. Okay, all right, let's say you want to make sure that these three windows are at equal distance from each other. Okay, you select this, you can select the dimension line from the quick access toolbar. So you select the windows, you dimension the windows like so, and then dimension the inward part of this wall. Okay, then you hit this EQ button here. Okay, now you can see the distance between this and this is 1238, and then this is 1238. Okay, the distance from this wall to this is 1868, and then you see, so this EQ button actually makes the distances between the elements where you use the dimensions to do the EQ button to be equidistant from each other. Okay, all right, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot. If you did, please give this video a like, and if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing. Not only that, ring the bell so you don't miss any of our future tutorial. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in my next video.